All right, welcome everybody. Just put it out on Twitter that we're now live at Franchise Sports Media. We're going to be doing, a lot of this in the future. So much so that weekly broadcasts. You know, Everything's going to be, very regimented. Like for example, you'll be able to go watch, what will Joe do, things like that nature. Um, our Raider podcast, things like that. So, we're really excited to have everybody here. So just going to field some questions. Everybody's been pulling their hair out, stuck inside, not having a good time. So, let's forget about all that bullshit for a little while and let's hang out. Okay. So, first and foremost, talk about the season a little bit. It all kind of started with, Marvin Menzies getting fired, and, we didn't really know what was next. The big names were bandied about. We talked about, Rick Pitino. We talked about, Thad Matta. We talked about a lot of different people, and then we ended up, bringing TJ Otzelberger from South Dakota State, analytics, fast-paced offense, a lot of threes, things of that nature. And then we watched him kind of try to put together a roster that's conducive to that. We had a lot of holdovers. We had things like, trying to, Amari Hardy and Bryce Hamilton, getting those guys to stick around was big. And then kind of filling out, the rest of the roster with guys like Jonah Antonio, Vitaly Shibel, and I don't think we really ever got into, maybe stylistically what TJ Otzelberger is kind of capable of, but we did see, a team that showed like incremental improvements. A team that was definitely better in February than they were in November, which kind of in the past, UNLV has almost peaked in November and December generally. But, that was kind of the season. 17 and 15 isn't too much to shout about, on paper. But, second place, tied for second place within the Mountain West, that's a big deal. So the future's bright. And, that's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about, the recruits, the future, things that, we're all, pretty excited about. So I got some questions coming in. From Vegas Michael 001. What is up with Donnie Tillman? Good question. Donnie Tillman, everybody was very excited to have Tillman enter the fold. He was the defending, reigning, Pac-12 sixth man of the year. Was really heralded for his, his 3-point shooting off the catch, catch and shoot, especially in that corner. He's a high rebounding guy, effort guy. And then, we watched him play at UNLV, and, those things were, that made him sixth man of the year at Utah just kind of never came to fruition. It was, a lot of stuff in the media too, in terms of him, a lot of disciplinarian stuff, being late for team meetings, it just never really looked to me, at least, that he was, too bought in. When you're shucking your responsibilities pretty regularly, and then, your play isn't matching, maybe what was expected. Granted, we wanted, more, and maybe we would see more if Donnie Tillman were to come back. But I'll tell you here now, I don't expect Donnie Tillman back. There's been, word that he is ready for, maybe to take the leap to the pros. He's, thinks that, the NBA is a viable option for him. So I would expect that to be what's next for Donnie Tillman. Could he come back? Yes. I mean, of course, anything's possible, but that's what I expect currently. I expect him to maybe go, take a run at the NBA draft. Maybe we'll see him in the G League next year, but that's what I expect. So, Sports Guy 06, what's up, brother? So, again, we're talking about transfers. So we look for a transfer who leaves is what we do. I mean, again, the answer is Donnie Tillman here. We've had some surprising, transfers already. No one think really expected Jonah Antonio to leave the way that he did. And that's okay. This kind of the nature of the beast, especially this time of year. Free agency is really what the transfer portal has become. It's just a way for people to just freely go wherever the fuck they want. So yeah, if there's going to be another transfer, I do expect it to be Donnie Tillman. I don't expect that we'll lose Bryce Hamilton. I don't expect that we're going to lose Bakke John. Even though that it came out in the press a little bit that John and Hamilton were going to stay. Yeah, I don't expect those guys to leave. Okay, next question. Sorry, guys. I'm getting to them as fast as I can. I'm new to this, and I kind of suck. The likelihood of Bakke John sticking around, yes, he's going to stick around. Randy, I really think that's the case. Also asking if Devin Tillis is going to prep. No, I don't expect him to prep. And listen, Tillis is, oh, don't mind my quarantine hair, by the way. Tillis is the most unheralded guy in the recruiting class. And frankly, nobody expects anything of him because of that. He didn't have any D1 interest. He really was kind of, like that what the fuck addition to the recruiting class. And, I understand it, when your recruiting is like Western Oregon is in on you and, you're from Los Angeles, you're from like a hotbed of college basketball, especially where he was at Windward, which is a heralded program. There's a lot of guys like, Kajani Wright and Dylan Andrews are there. So you got, a lot of press there. So when Devin Tillis was brought in, people were scratching their heads, thinking to themselves, like, okay, what's this kid going to bring to the table? And you know what? I asked a lot of fucking people from California and the Los Angeles area that have seen this kid, what to expect. And what to expect is kind of, a well-rounded guy. I think almost Jay Green, in terms of effort and energy. We saw a lot of that with Jay Green this year, and I'm a little sad to see Jay Green have hit the transfer portal because of that. But you see Devin Tillis coming in, and he's like the more, trumped up, skilled version of that. He's still going to give you the rebounding. He's still going to give you the defense, but he's also going to be able to, pass, dribble, shoot, things that are integral to Otzelberger's offense. So I don't expect him to just automatically redshirt or prep or, kind of be ushered aside. I think he's going to be somebody that, maybe isn't going to be a star right away, but somebody who's, able to possibly contribute. Okay. Sports Guy again asks if Mitchell Long doesn't get hurt, we win the Mountain West Conference tournament. The team was clicking. I agree wholeheartedly with that. And think about that time of the year. Otzelberger was scrambling to put together lineups and, consistency. Missing Mitchell Long was obviously dire to, the success of the team overall. He missed 13 games. And you got to think that 17-15 record, if Mitchell Long is healthy, if he's able to contribute, what's the difference there in terms of the win-loss column? So, 17 wins, maybe does that equate to 20 wins, 22 wins? Is UNLV a little bit better in the Mountain West Conference with Mitchell Long around? And I agree that, yes, the team was clicking because of him. As well as others, let's not just, say, he was like the lone ranger there. I mean, Bryce Hamilton's emergence, he was the catalyst. Hardy was able to, especially with those three guards working together, it was fantastic. I mean, you saw it. I mean, there was a run there, 4 or 5 games, in a row. And yeah, I mean, there's a very good chance that if Mitchell Long is healthy, UNLV's cutting down the nets and, well, I mean, sitting at home with the rest of us avoiding coronavirus. So yeah, I agree. Mitchell Long would have been big to have. Okay. Our UNLV Rebel for Life. What's up, buddy? Are any current commits looking to decommit or go to prep? All of this is just conjecture at this point. Only Otzelberger and his staff know exactly what they want in terms of the lineups and the rotations to look next year. It was really rumored that Isaac Lindsey, the Wisconsin guard, who's coming off a hip injury and surgery, he was supposedly going to be a big, thought to have been someone who was going to prep or someone who was going to maybe, take a red shirt. And then he came out in the press and said, no, I haven't talked to the staff about that. I don't think that would be the case. So I got to think, especially with, 8 new players, everybody's going to come in and they're going to get a chance. They're going to get a shot to perform. They're going to get a shot to see the floor. Automatically thinking, yeah, okay, like, yeah, these guys should prep or will prep. No, I don't think that's in the cards. I think everybody's coming to see if they're going to actually get on the court. And then once they perform, everything will kind of fall into place from there. Okay, let's see here. Brad, what's up, Brad? Any word on Caleb Grill? Okay, I mean, the transfer portal is one of those things where, sometimes you don't know. All these kids are looking for new opportunities. And I think the opportunity for Grill at UNLV is a prevalent one. Obviously we were, Kansas State, Iowa State, and UNLV as finalists. He visited. So yeah, I mean, and it's, public knowledge that Otzelberger has a really good relationship. But then again, you look at what's already aboard. So, you've got just a plethora of guards, right? You've already probably got to think to yourself, starting lineup next year, probably Coleman. David Jenkins Jr. is definitely going to start. Bryce Hamilton's definitely going to start. And then, you wonder, is it going to be the 4-guard lineup that was so successful for UNLV at the latter portion of this last season? So, Nick Blake he's good, guys. He's really fucking good. He's going to come in. He's going to play a lot of minutes. He's going to make an impact. I mean, he might be your 4th starter. I personally think it's going to be Moses Wood. I think he's going to be that, power forward. But really, he's just a 6'8" guard also. So yeah, I mean, you just look at the buildup of the team. Do you need another 6'3" guard? There's not a lot of size on the roster. So yeah, I mean, the relationship's there. The pedigree's there. You went to Iowa State, you didn't really contribute all that much, but you got to think, comes to UNLV. The point guard position is going to be a little bit up in the air. I mean, Marvin Coleman is the obvious incumbent, right? So, Coleman is, slotted in maybe just kind of based off of, what we expect. But, you got Donovan Yap, you've got Nick Fleming, the JUCO guard. So, it's kind of one of those things. We'll see. Would I be surprised if Caleb Grill comes? Not in the slightest. Like, again, the relationships there, I almost expect it at this point. But do you need him? No. But that's also a good thing, right? You don't necessarily need Grill, but if he does come, we're all happy with that. All right. Be Red for life. Let's see. Joe Rigo. What's up, Joe? Good to see you. Zach, what's up, Zach? No, I don't really expect anybody else to leave beyond Tillman. If it is Tillman, yeah, that gets us to that magic number, right? Magic number is 13. 13 max scholarships. So, but yeah, listen. Let's talk about Bakke John for a second. John is, I think, invaluable, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be 100% locked in. You kind of saw that, especially towards the latter portion of the Mountain West play, he was kind of disposable, right? They went small quite a bit. You were even seeing Nick Blair playing center, and then he kind of got lost in the shuffle. Just strictly from kind of what he brings to the table. He rebounds, he blocks shots, but then again, he's not the highest IQ guy in the world either. It's kind of one of those things like, you look at Jalen Martinez. Jalen Martinez he's fit for this offense. I mean, he was made to play in Otzelberger's offense. The way he passes, the way that he shoots, is a high IQ. He's catalyst for this kind of offense. He has good hands. You drop the ball into the post to Bakke John. It's 50-50. Is he going to catch it? Is it going to go out of bounds? You throw in the ball to a big like Jalen Martinez, what's going to happen? Either he's going to find the pass out of the post, or he's going to get his hook over either shoulder, or, any number of things. So does John fit? Not 100%, but you still want him. You know what I mean? You still need the rim protection. You still need the guy who's going to be able to run the floor like a gazelle. He gives you the energy. He gives you the big dunk. But then, he also gives you the bonehead things like, the inexplicable jacked up 3-pointer. So yeah. Whereas I'm more confident that Donnie Tillman would leave, via transfer, I am less so where Bakke John is concerned. I don't expect John to leave. No. All right. Going down. Is there a JUCO point guard coming in from Texas? I have not heard that. That doesn't mean it's not true. However, some of these commits, some of these recruits kind of came out of left field. You saw them get, really big on the local scene, Donovan Yap and Nick Blake and Jalen Martinez. But then, Nick Fleming, who I mentioned before, he kind of came out of left field. No one had heard of the guy. Tim Buckley, the assistant coach, found him. And, if you go back and read my interview with him, it went down quickly. They talked to him, one day, and then like 2 days later, he was committed. He didn't even visit. So no, I haven't heard anything about a Texas JUCO product, but at the same time, it could happen. Okay, let's see here. Scrolling down. UNLV Rebel for life. I can't see Jay Green being wanted at Arizona. Neither can I. He's just not that caliber of player. I don't expect his brother to be there anyway. Josh Green is probably, he's a borderline lottery pick. So, Sean Miller, why would he take Jay if Josh isn't around? It's kind of one of those things. Okay. Zach, should we expect a transfer from other schools? They've been looking at the transfer portal. It's just something that they've been doing. The first report came out as Kobe King, the Wisconsin transfer, who I don't know, for some fucking reason ended up at Nebraska and is looking for an immediate waiver. I don't know how you transfer within the Big Ten and get an immediate waiver. I don't know how the fuck that works, but they were in on Kobe King. You know, I don't know the depths. You know, I don't know how close it was that King was going to come to UNLV or whatever. But I mean, it was there. And then obviously Caleb Gurl's name comes up, and then another name that popped up was Ishmael Elamin, Khalid Elamin's kid, Ball State. So I mean, yeah, they're looking. You know, so the numbers, you know, they got to add up somehow. So, you know, just because I don't expect a player to leave doesn't mean it's, you know, necessarily not going to happen. All right, let's see. Going down. All right. Gil the Thrill. What's up, buddy? What would be the chance of any of the incoming commits or transfers not ending up coming? I mean, that's one of those things too. I mean, you know, he added so much so quickly. You know, eight players. You start to kind of think about it. You know, is it viable that everybody's going to end up hitting campus? And I mean, you see it all the time. I mean, players quietly, you know, reopen their commitment. Um, you know, but it's also sort of a bad look. You know, you give a guy a chance, you give a guy a scholarship. Everybody has signed papers, so that's a way of recruiting that, you know, it does happen, but it also burns bridges. Um, you know, TJ Otzelberger that we know of, I mean, yeah, he's created a lot of room, you know, with this upcoming roster. But you don't know if he does it with the guys that he's coveted. You know, I mean, when it's Menzies guys and, you know, guys of the former regime, um, okay, yeah, I mean, that's a little bit more expected. You know, those weren't guys that were going to fit the mold or the system anyway. Um, so yeah, I mean, you kind of expect that. But these 8 incoming recruits, I don't know if they get ushered aside. But you know, say like, okay, for example, this is hypothetical. I'm not saying Johnny Juzang is going to transfer from Kentucky to UNLV, but hypothetically, say, you know, UNLV used the Compton Magic connection that they developed with Devin Tillis, and they were able to get him to transfer from Kentucky over to UNLV. I mean, yeah, he's a top 50 guy. He's more than likely going to play in the NBA at some point. You know, yeah, these are the types that you probably make room for, and somebody is going to get their feelings hurt. That's already signed on. That's one of those things. So again, that's hypothetical. You know, let's not, you know, burst to Twitter and say Jeff Waddilove thinks that, you know, we're getting a Kentucky transfer. That's just, you know, an example. All right. Okay. Well, yep. There you go. That already. Zach went ahead and dashed my hopes for Juzang anyway. So irrelevant, erroneous. So, you know, let's talk a little bit too about, you know, in this day and age. I know my heart's broken, Zach, but I'll fucking live. My depression beard's coming in anyway, so it'll grow just a little bit longer and thicker for Juzang not coming. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about, you know, things that were coming up, you know, that we might have to expect won't happen now, just because of the way coronavirus is. And one of those things is the Canadian tour. You know, we're gonna do an international tour, and that means you get to practice early. You get official practices in June. You know, and then you get to go play 3 or 4 games, you know, against, I think last time we went to Canada, we were playing Canadian college teams. I don't know if we played any professional Canadian teams. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Internet problem. Sorry. MPNV901. Sorry, brother. But yeah, it's, you know, it's kind of one of those things where you don't know. Um, Especially a tour like that, that's going to be so invaluable in terms of being able to, you know, develop chemistry, cohesion, you know, getting those guys in the gyms together. And, you know, by the time the out of conference portion hits, you know, and, you know, we got big games, you know, UCLA at the Thomas and Mack, Cal is, kind of, down, but they beat us last year. So, a revenge game at Thomas and Mack would be nice. At SMU, at VCU, at Kansas State, so you really hope that international tour can go through, because those practices and getting everybody involved, early, that's something you can't, having that kind of preparation before the season is just so important. So, I don't know. I mean, obviously nobody knows when sports are going to come back online, but that's one of the things that I'll be keeping a close eye on, and keeping you guys appraised of. So, all right, let's see. Who do I expect to make the biggest impact next year besides Bryce? I mean, kind of the obvious answer there is David Jenkins Jr. And he's just one of those people that is just, and I've said this before, he's kind of like the transfer equivalent of a McDonald's All-American. And you guys heard all the reports, from practice, that he's just busting guys' asses and just making everybody look bad. He's a 40% above 3-point shooter, one of the best shooters in the country, period. And he's an all-around talent too. So David Jenkins is going to come in, he's going to score a lot of points. He's going to, make a lot of threes. And he's just going to kind of be that stepping stone towards, Otzelberger sort of improvising, an offense at UNLV and getting back to what he preaches and what he likes to do. I think another kind of, more unheralded, kind of under the radar impact guy, I think it's going to be Moses Wood. Talked to Jordan Cornish about him a little bit. They spent time at Tulane together, and Cornish just raved about this guy. Talked about how he's oftentimes the best shooter in the gym, and he's got good handles, and he can drive to the rim. Can create his own shot. He's also a good rebounder, also a good shot blocker, and so he's one of those guys that he could probably come in and maybe have like a surprising impact. Maybe like, remember, I don't know if everybody remembers too well when Chase Stanback came over from UCLA. He didn't put up a lot of numbers. He didn't play a lot of minutes, but then he ended up being one of the most important players that we've had in a long time. One of the best players we've seen in quite a while. So Moses Wood would be one, and then maybe in terms of talking about the freshmen, I would really keep an eye on Donovan Yap. Yap is one of those guys where he's just so dynamic and explosive in terms of his offensive abilities. I know the staff would really like for him to put on weight, get stronger, and really commit to defense a little bit more. And that's fine. Look at Bryce Hamilton, for example. He was, thought to be a poor defender and, things of that nature. But then, as you saw him get on the court, he, not only became very dynamic offensively, but his man-to-man defense became a lot better. So Yap is one of those guys that, they're gonna play him just because he's good. He's a 6'5" guard. He's a triple-double threat, coming out of high school. I think he had like 7 triple doubles, and he's another one of those players that, remember Oscar Belfield when he was a freshman, like maybe, some of you, I don't know if you remember when we played at Reno, Oscar tore him up. Oscar hit a bunch of threes, and he was pretty much single-handedly responsible for winning that game. And I think Yap can have that kind of, at least offensive impact for UNLV. So those are kind of, the guys that I would keep an eye on. Jenkins, the obvious, Wood more under the radar, and Yap in terms of the freshmen being able to come in. But you also can't discount Nick Blake, who, his body type, he's collegiate ready now. And that's what his prep time at IMG, turned him into. He's ready. And he's probably going to end up being one of the better guards at UNLV. period. He's just one of those guys that it's very exciting to know that he's going to be at UNLV and he's going to be developing over 1, 2, 3, 4 years. Let's see. What other questions we got? At least 20 wins next season, Zach. Let's just be honest. Otzelberger was hired to win. There's not going to be a grace period for him, really. It was one of those things where it was thought that Menzies obviously wasn't cutting it. He was never going to get it done. And you see the Thomas and Mack Center. You see how it's empty. You see how it's been fucking ghost town, and it's hard to draw. Desiree Francois brought Otzelberger in to rectify that. Not like immediately. Like, obviously, you're going to get a grace period that first year, but years 2, 3, 4, it's not going to be there, especially with the way recruiting has gone. It's a good recruiting class. It's a solid recruiting class, not like top 10 to 15, a la Dave Rice. But when you have solid veteran returnees, like you have Bryce Hamilton, you have David Jenkins, you're in win now mode almost. There are 8 new players coming in, but the expectations are high. And the expectations at UNLV are always going to be fucking high. And they're going to be unrealistic. because we have one of the more jaded fan bases in America. That's just a consummate, time-honored truth. So 20 wins, I would say, yeah, it's expected. You finished second place in the Mountain West in year 1. San Diego State's losing Fegan. They might even lose Malachi Flynn. You look at the rest of the league. You look at like Merrill from Utah State's gone. You don't know if Kita's going to come back. You don't know if he's going to test the waters. But at any given time, the Mountain West Conference is not one of those leagues like the Big 12. It's not like an embarrassment of riches, like those other programs, top to bottom in those leagues. At any given point, UNLV's not that far away from getting back to the top of this conference. San Diego State, they had this like great momentous year this season, but Dutcher's been inconsistent. He's been in the NIT and then he's been in the NCAA. It's not like Fisher. It's not like Dave Rose is at, BYU, things like that. It's up for grabs. And the way that Otzelberger is recruiting and the way that the team is looking, it's expected that UNLV is going to make that next jump. I really feel like it's going to be that time next year. Like, I don't expect maybe, the out of conference slate to be quite what it has been, maybe like under Kruger or anything. Especially with 8 new guys, you're going to have growing pains. But I also expect with Maui Invitational, all the other UCLA at home, that type of thing. There's going to be some resume building wins. There's going to be enough wins in the out of conference that the fans will be happy. But then, like last year, I feel like the team will hit its stride come conference play. And it would be, unfair maybe, but no, I expect UNLV to be, 1, 2, 3 in the Mountain West. All right, let's see. Any other questions? Oh, okay. The new women's coach, Zach. Unfortunately, I don't know much. I don't follow women's basketball that much. I know that she was an assistant at Stanford. I know that she had great success. I know that she has, local ties, and like Otzelberger really wants to dive into, being, local centric in terms of their recruiting, because like boys basketball, women's basketball in Las Vegas is very underrated. So, I know everyone's excited that she's brought in. I don't know if she hasn't been able to hit the ground running in terms of recruiting or anything, just because the current state of, things around the world. But, I know locals are excited that she's now in charge. So yeah, it's definitely something I'm going to be keeping my eye on. Definitely be watching more women's basketball now that she's in charge. All right, guys. We've been chatting for about 35 minutes now. Any other questions for me? Any thoughts? As far as I'm concerned, this last season was, it ushered in a lot of hope for UNLV. Something we haven't had in a long, long fucking time. Under Rice, we celebrated in June and July, during the AAU periods when, the coveted recruits would come in, and then we would have, some successes like beating Pac-12 champion Oregon and Big Ten champion Indiana, obviously smoking North Carolina at the Orleans Arena, beating Arizona at home, a lot of big wins, but, that never translated towards Mountain West Conference success. It never translated towards NCAA tournament success. That's what this next step is. That's what Otzelberger is here to do. He's here to catapult. He's here to become, that next guy like Kruger who came in and got UNLV back on track. So that's perfectly, personally what I expect. Joe Rigo, a TJ Otzelberger extension. That's maybe premature. Like going to prom and getting into that hotel room and you make a mess on your pants. That's a little premature. But he's in line for it. Like you finish second place in year one. That means you're setting yourself up for job security down the line. But we're gonna have to see not even incremental improvement. Like, say, for example, if UNLV went from 17 wins to 19 wins in year two, that's when everybody gets fucking pissed off. Everyone's starting to think, all right, underachieving, and, is this the guy? And then all of a sudden people are starting to thinking, hot freaking tar and feathers and pitchforks, going down to Thomas and Mack. So, yes, if Otzelberger does succeed in the way that he should, then yeah, you're going to have to extend the guy. You're going to have to pay him Power 5 money because, frankly, he deserves it. And what UNLV doesn't want to do is they don't want to keep doing the same things over and over. Every 3 to 5 years, starting from scratch. You can't do that. There's the Otzelberger's foundation. You have to build off that, and then it has to be the sky's the limit thing. So yeah, if Otzelberger wins this year the way that he should, the way that we all expect, yeah, you got to pony up. But I also don't think DRF, Miss Desiree Reed-Francois, brought him in, to pay him. Yeah, he's the highest paid coach in the Mountain West. But if he wins, yeah, I absolutely think the expectation from Desiree Francois was to pay him accordingly. Is he expected to stay if he has success? All right, Zach, that's another good question, bro. I was told, and then this is a year ago, maybe even, yeah. When was TJ hired? I think it was like a year ago, like last week. I was told the only job that he for sure would bail on, before is Iowa State. Granted, he and I are like pen pals. We don't hang out all the time. I don't know what's going on in his head, but that would be the job that I was told that, yeah, he would leave for. But I also know that if prom doesn't work out at Iowa State, the only guy that they're going to hire is Hoiberg. They would immediately go gank Hoiberg from Nebraska, and that would be a foregone conclusion. But that doesn't mean if he doesn't, if Otzelberger wins 25 games, yeah, the Power 5 programs, they come for you. Chris Birdbeard took 2 weeks. Texas Tech lost Tubby, and then he was gone. But that was the past, brass, the past power at UNLV, that weak power. that was in place. I don't think that the powers that be now at UNLV would allow that to happen. I think if anybody came hunting for Otzelberger, one of the Power 5 teams, I think they would at least try their very best to match. Is Desiree Reed Francois going to stay? That's another good question, Zach. Word has been that UCLA is kind of her dream job, and if rumors can be believed, she's going to be a finalist for that UCLA gig. And if she did leave for UCLA, could any of us blame her? No, I don't think so. And Bandman, can you get a ride tonight? Who's going to pick this guy up? Who's going to disregard social distancing to get this guy to where he needs to go? All right. So, yeah, obviously, if I'm touching on social distancing, everyone's fucking tired of hearing about that. I don't want to talk about it. That's a good time to wrap this motherfucker up. So, if you don't have anything else for me, men's basketball related, I'm going to bid everybody adieu. Going back to playing way too much fucking Xbox, that sort of thing. All right. All right, guys. I'm going to get out of here. Stay safe. Don't lick any poles outside or toilets, public toilets like you see. Just don't cough on people. Don't be assholes. Licking ice cream, whatever. All right, that's my soapbox moment. I don't really care. Survive Corona. Love you guys. Talk to you later.